I'm live right now. Haha. Well, I'm going to start off by saying this, Apollo. Will you be my Valentine?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Man, I thought I was going to be lonely on Friday.
Lonely. You're so lonely. Actually, you should be. You're the singer. All right. So today's going to be Fun Friday. We're going to be joined by George Behizy and Apollo. And we're going to spend the entire time, well, maybe not the entire time, making fun of people that need to be made fun of. And it is crazy to me that people can justify some of their behavior. There was a video I put out on socials that showed a bunch of people going in front of a town council and talking about the fact that their rights are going to be taken away. And you listen to the entire video and you can't help but feel sorry for them. How do people become this demented? So we're going to talk about that and much more. But to celebrate Valentine's Day, I want to start off with something super, super light. But before that, let's cut. Are we not cutting? Maybe we're not cutting. Maybe we're not introing today. Might intro.
I broke my intro. Hold on.
That was anticlimactic. Now we cut the intro. Cut. Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talks about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. With Apollo, we have this great message from the White House. This actually came from the White House itself. It was published on the White House's site. This is fun. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come here illegally, and we'll deport you.
It's so good.
Well, that's a really nice ring to it. I do think they're cracking jokes a little too much, but and everyone's got jokes. But at the same time, I look at it and go, well, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a little bit, keep it a little bit light. But we do have this. It's we have a Valentine's Day message from the greatest president of all time. Let's go ahead and play it.
Roses are red, and everybody knows it. There's a lot of corruption, and Doge will expose it. They've used all the money that they've stolen from you on DEI in Serbia and Transcomics in Peru. We've canceled Osama bin Elmo on Sesame Street in Iraq. We are getting our country back on the right track. We're securing the border and we are building the wall, while fake news CNN can't stop talking about big balls. We're doing much better now that we're back under Trump, much better than the guy who went to the Vatican and took a dump. On this Valentine's Day, let's enjoy the left's rage as we all usher in a big, beautiful golden age.
That was pretty good. That was Sean Faresh. He does a really good, for those of you that thought that President Trump actually read it, if you're on the audio version, he did not actually read that. That was Faresh doing a impression. It's a pretty good impression, actually. So John Kennedy wanted to also wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. And he put a little spin to it, that it's all about love. Let's go ahead and play
it. Folks, I believe that love is the answer, but you ought to own a handgun just in case.
So you got to own a handgun. He's cleaning his handgun. For those of you that love is definitely the answer. But he's cleaning his gun and then moving on over to. You know what? If he's going to talk about guns, I'm gonna plug DCF guns. And so flowers tend to wilt and die, and so you might as well go over to DCF Gun, get yourself some ammunition, some guns we can ship anywhere in the continental U.S. Some restrictions do apply in places like California. So up next, we're definitely gonna have a fun show today. We are going to look at all the massive wins we've had this week, and it keeps stacking up. Now, there's some things that are coming out to show you that this is just the beginning, that this is just the warm-up. President Trump had to get his people in positions of power and authority. Obviously, we're still waiting on Kash Patel. Apollo, when do you think we're actually going to hear about Kash Patel? You have any guesses over under?
Over under. Well, I don't know for this week, to be honest. Maybe they're going to try and roll it out past the end of the month. I think they're real scared on that front because they have a lot of pieces that are going to connect. And I mean, you were talking yesterday about how frustrating it is that we haven't seen any arrests. There's a big club that comes behind somebody actually getting into that position. So. If and when that does happen, I think we're going to see some pretty amazing things happen. But I still don't. I mean, I still look at it and go, well, all right. So if he does actually come out and have mass arrests, we still have to contend with a judiciary that has largely tried to stand in the way of President Trump's agenda. And I'll actually put that aside and say it's not President Trump's agenda; it's the American people. That's what they voted for. And so. I think that he probably will do great things when he's in office. I just wonder if he's going to have the stomach to do the things that are necessary in order to choke out the judiciary. So let's start with the wins. Win number 1. And in this corner, we have RFK Jr. He's announcing he's creating a vaccine injury report system. Let's go ahead and play it.
This profile is for these products.
Do you think the COVID vaccine was safe and the boosters were safe? I mean, a lot of people talk about adverse effects.
We don't have good data on it, and that is a crime. The fact that we don't have a surveillance system that actually works. In 2010, CDC has a surveillance system called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, and it's supposed to pick up injuries. But CDC did a study of that system in 2010, and that study said, and this is a published study by CDC, that it captures less than 1% of the vaccine injuries. That's inexcusable. Congress has repeatedly, and the Institute of Medicine, the National Academy of Sciences, have repeatedly ordered CDC to put together a better vaccine.
Will you require it?
And we will do that right away.
There's rumors out there that as many as 50% of the employees of HHS will be cut in the restructuring of government that DOJ is helping President Trump carry out. And people are wringing their hands. Your response to that?
I don't know anything about 50% of people being cut. There's 90,000 employees.
So he's still going to get challenged on this, and what they're saying is that somewhere along the line, people are going to die as a result of not taking vaccines. Look, vaccine hesitancy has nothing to do with RFK. It has to do with the facts, and the facts are that there's not a family across the entire United States that isn't dealing with comorbidities or different things that are happening inside their families that they can correlate or tie directly to vaccines. Even some of the crazy things you have on the gender dysphoria and the fact that there's an eroded sense of self or the ability to compute what's really going on in your environment, tie that to autism, and that it's a more highly controllable environment. I don't know. I don't even know if that's true. But you see people that are tying both together in the fact that people have a low mental acuity and don't have the ability to see right from wrong or reality from fiction, given some of the reprogramming that's been done on them. And Apollo, I know that you dealt with a little bit of this, but not the autism, but vaccine injury. And it's a real thing, right? Your family's dealt with this for decades.
Yeah. Since I was like 2 months old. It depends who you ask whether or not I've dealt with the autism as well. But that's maybe Maybe you're just autistic, not autistic.
Yeah.
Oh. So instead of doing you're R.
Or the autism. I'm artistic.
Big retard. Okay, so Hegseth did something today. He went and met with and had a workout with the V Corps, the DAO, and the MSG. This is crazy. He's out at 4:30 in the morning. Let's go ahead and play it.
I'm with the rotational unit here, first cab.
Okay, so he's out there working out in the morning in the snow, just kind of moving around a little bit. It is snowing on the East Coast as well. Okay, so President Trump did not disappoint us as well. Earlier today, he had a conversation with a guy. We're just going to call him Governor. Governor. And this is what I like about President Trump is that he can just poke fun at people and take shots. There's not a whole lot they can do about it. And the fact that he does it with such disrespect for who the guy is. Let's go ahead and play it.
Going with Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay much less tax than they're paying right now. They'd have perfect military protection. They don't have any military protection because and you take a look at what's going on out there. You have Russian ships, you have China ships, you have Chinese ships, you have a lot of ships out there, and people are in danger. This is a different world today. It's a different world. They need our protection, yes.
Governor. Governor, I talked to the Governor Trudeau. The greatest part about this is that he shows a lack of respect for some of the weakest people in the world. I mean, these are weak people. These aren't people that can stand up to you. We have a couple of those weak people that show up in our comments on X, Apollo. It's funny. I just laugh. I laugh at them.
Are these the ones who are saying that how dare we say such lies about Coomer?
Yeah, they didn't like that. They didn't let me talk about Coomer. We'll get used to it because I got more. We're going to do an entire, might even be an 8-hour segment. I'm just going to get crayons out. I won't eat the crayons. I'll bring people on that might eat the crayons, but we're just going to just spell it out for you so you can see it. So as we get further down the line of things that are going well, JD Vance went over to the Munich Security Conference. I want to play the whole thing. It's 19 minutes long. We'll put it up. We'll put it actually on all the channels so you can see it. But this part was absolutely gold. Remember the 15-year-old, 16-year-old little kid that said, "How dare you?"
Greta?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he had something to say about if we could survive this piece of trash. Now, keep in mind, when I was 25, I had a different outlook. When I was 15, I had a different outlook than I do at 25. At 15 years old, it was acceptable for me to go sell drugs. I thought, they're going to pay me $5,000 to mule drugs from here to here, and it's going to take me 1 hour. I just did the math, and I was like, that's like $5,000 an hour. Even then, I knew how to do math. I know it's a tough concept. But when I was 25, it was no longer acceptable. So how I saw things was different based on the experiences that I had. One, I didn't want to look over my shoulder. I didn't want to be driving dirty or on a stolen motorcycle or doing things that frankly, it was a survival thing at 15. At 25, I had long before made a decision that I wanted to be able to do some pretty great things in the business world. And I was always driven to work hard. And so my philosophies changed. 25 to 35, again, they changed almost 100% in a different direction. I'd say it moved by 40 degrees, then it moved by another 30 degrees, and then by the time I was 45, everything in me had moved. It had all shifted. And then I understood, had experience. At 16 years old, you have no experience. You are a talking head for either retards or really smart people. Those are the two choices. You got Barron Trump on one side, really smart. You got Greta Thunberg on the other side, really retarded. Here's what J.D. Vance had to say. Let's play it.
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered.
So I want you to understand what he's saying. He's basically saying that you shouldn't have a slave state. And in essence, that's what Europe has become. It's become a slave state. They have no control. The legislators, the judiciary, they all make the rules. So everyone inside of the EU is in essence an institutional slave. You know, I would argue that at the federal government, we have Elon Musk going through and just cutting away at the fat of the fiber of the fat of the corruption within our system. But we have a bigger problem at the state level. We have states like in Colorado where these people are allowed to act with impunity. They're allowed to, in essence, steal the voice, not just of the American people or the people in those states, but they're able to influence the outcome of what happens at the federal level by stealing those voices. And then they get to cover it up. They have this organized crime, this massive conspiracy. And so they've been able to, state by state, institutionally enslave the people. But that's not all that J.D. Vance said when he was at the conference. He warned and taunted. He basically said, he shamed them for acting like tyrants and control freaks, that you're not allowed to have a free thought in your mind. And that he called them out for not respecting free speech and allowing for this mass migration to come in. And it's not the best and brightest. It's the people that come in and do massive amounts of harm. In the case of the UK, 250,000 rapes of women and children over 30 years. And they hid it. Imagine that type of statistic that you would have. By the way, that's 250,000 by illegals, migrants coming into the country. Let's go ahead and play this cut.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Free speech is in retreat. Paulo, we've been ridiculed for so long by the media that lies with impunity about pretty much everything. And for 4 years, we fought against this. For 4 years, we talked about what is really happening in our community. And we had to deal with, we didn't just have to deal with it on the media side. We had to deal with what Google has done. And Google basically stripped the internet of anything nice and just allowed for, things like Wikipedia to create these slanderous lies about people in our community. And if you go back and you change it, one day later, they'll be notified of the change and they'll go back in and change it again. So you're constantly chasing the ability to correct the record on yourself or others. And they get to lie about and write a publicly facing deal that Google props up in order to pick the winners and the losers within our community. So we're not just talking about the silencing of speech overseas. You have to look at this from the lens of what they've been able to do to bend public perception towards the lies that they continue to tell. And if you go on to Google right now and start saying stuff about insurrections, or they will applaud it. They will put all sorts of information out there about the fact that there was an insurrection on January 6th. Wikipedia will put that up there. And then they say that it is fake news if you talk about the fact that there was government influence, that they literally set up and created the environment for this conflict on January 6th. They did it on purpose in order to indict the character of not just the thousands of Americans, but anyone that voted for President Trump in 2020. And when it didn't work, they couldn't figure out why. Like, why didn't this work? I mean, shouldn't we have been able to hold everyone accountable and get the American people behind the fact that we're going to stand up for law and order? But the emperor had no clothes. We started to look at this not from the perspective of Republican and Democrat, because that's what they sold us on, that anyone that is MAGA is somehow a terrorist, that parents that walk in that want their children not to be groomed and indoctrinated in school, they became terrorists. They became the domestic terrorists. And then you had other people that gave up their livelihoods. You had Kyle Seraphin, you had Steve Friend, you had Garrett O'Boyle. You had lots of people that stood up. You got Zachary Scholchow. Is it Scholchow? Scholtal. You have a lot of people that stood up and took a lot of bullets and lost their livelihoods. It's then we just started to figure out that it's not the Democrats versus Republicans. It's good versus evil. And somebody said the quiet part out loud. And then Elon Musk came in and bought out the platform and kicked me off again. I just want to point that out. And allowed for some of these other things to happen. And then you have platforms like Rumble and others that popped up and said, okay, we're going to be the free speech platform. But then you have Rumble that comes out and does the same thing that Google does, picks winners and losers and says, here are the 10 people that you should listen to that are news people that are on Rumble. And, I don't hold it against Chris over at Rumble. I invested in Rumble for a long period of time until a couple of weeks ago. I said, why would I invest in a platform that literally suppresses me? Why would I do it? Why would I invest any money in that? And yeah, I'll put my message up there, but why should I have my hard-earned money that I want to put and invest? Why should I invest it in platforms that, frankly, don't stand for what I really stand for? And so there's been this paradigm shift of how I look at what J.D. Vance is talking about. And look, there is no purity to this. It's not like people can't be influenced. There's some people that can't be. But a vast majority of people, you develop a relationship with someone and someone takes a shot at them, you're like, yeah, that's not true, even if it is true. So I look at this as what we went through over the last 4 years and what Europe is allowed to do. If you trace it back, the same thing can be said for what California has been able to do and the adaptation of all the other states around it to these rules and ideas that are in California. It's an infiltration of evil, a manifestation of the evil, and this institutional slavery that they're trying to usher in, which led to what we dealt with in 2020. So we're here now in 2024. We're seeing things differently. You have people like J.D. Vance who are very eloquent and are standing up and speaking about what's happening in not just our country, but what's happening over and admonishing what's happening over in Europe. But the talons are already in Europe. And this is where it's going to be really difficult. Doge is going to do what Doge can do on the federal level and cut budgets. And for the next 4 years, we're going to be in a fight where the judiciary says that they're really the ones in charge. These are really bad people. Those are the ones who are in charge. This is the wizard behind the curtain. But as we push forward towards, okay, maybe we're able to solve some of these issues here. If we don't solve the underlying issue of where we get our information and the structures by which we operate, again, it's just a speed bump. We have to start looking at the problem and not looking at servicing the symptom. So we got Behizy that's going to be on here in a few minutes. And so before we go to break, we're going to go straight into break after this. I want to put this up here. Everyone walks in the Oval Office has to see this. And it's a reminder. So all the Democrats, when the Democrats walk through the door into the Oval Office, there's one thing that they see before anything else. Let's go ahead and play it. And then we'll see you right after this break with Behizy. And for those of you that missed it, that was the mugshot of President Trump. As you walk into the Oval Office, you have to look at his serious face, that mugshot, famous mugshot down in Georgia. We'll be right back. Do you want to get profits from the world's most productive oil basin? Bloomberg calls the Permian Basin the world's most important growth engine for oil production. Now there's a way for everyday investors to collect monthly checks from an incredible oil hotspot. It's not a stock, and it's not an ETF. Instead, you can actually own royalty rights on over 380,000 acres of prime oil and gas fields. The best part? 95% of all income from this investment gets paid directly to investors like you. You can simply sit back and collect the royalty checks month after month. You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. Visit oilboom2025.com to learn more about the opportunity from the Oxford Club's Chief Income Strategist, Mark Lichtenfeld. That's oilboom2025.com to learn how to start collecting Permian Basin oil royalties today.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
Hi. It was around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I received an email from PayPal. It showed in this email that there was a debit in my PayPal account that was going to be taken out I don't remember following the link in the email even. I think I went straight to the PayPal account, and that pending debit was there. And it was for about $1,000, I believe, so it was a lot of money. So I called the phone number on that email. And it kind of, the way this guy was talking, I didn't even question what he was saying. And I've worked with computers for the past 40 years. And he just kept convincing me, and he was a legitimate person that was going to fix my computer, and I had faith in him that he was doing his job. I got in the car and I drove, and I was just thinking, this isn't right. I've given this guy enough money to buy like 2 computers. So I came home and I just thought about it some more, and I called my wife had come home. I was by myself. I had to fix the computer, fix my phone, change my bank accounts, change all of my passwords. I mean, I went through like 2 weeks of going through everything I owned, changing everything that I had because of this guy calling me for those 2 or 3 hours. How did I fall for this? And it was a very traumatic experience. I know I wasn't the only one out there that had fallen for this. Listen to yourself and think about it before you do anything, and don't just trust somebody, even though it's so believable somehow. I don't. If you feel comfortable getting a software to help you to find out, who might be that actually track these scams, do it. I mean, if they feel that's something important to you, do it.
Welcome back. Okay, so I don't think, but Behizy's been on here several times. If you don't know who he is, he's an Xer. He's an influencer on X. He used to be on YouTube. I think he got canceled from there. So he actually has been canceled a few times. So I have to give him, he's got a couple stripes on him. But we're going to keep it light today. He's going to appreciate that. Probably going to have a crack a few jokes, have a little bit of fun. Always great to see him. George, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, Joe. First of all, I haven't been on here a few times. This is Untamed. I'm losing my Untamed virginity.
That's right. Oh, this is your Untamed. I forgot about that. We changed.
Yeah, you did a Bruce Jenner, man. You transitioned. So did a Dylan Mulvaney.
No he bitches. Those are called he bitches. I have to rename them he bitches.
Oh man. Yeah, well, the first lady of France, they all relate, Barack Obama's husband, they're all in that same he. What did you say? What did you say?
He bitches. They're called
okay.
They couldn't make it as a dude, so they had to convert to a woman and try to, he bitches.
I wouldn't say that. That wouldn't ever come out of my mouth, but it's a good way of putting it, Joe.
I wouldn't come out of your. Look, I've seen you when you get a little, when you just let it go. Don't try to play pure on me here. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty pure. You've never heard me swear, so we're gonna keep it that way.
I've never
I
heard
don't swear. I don't swear.
I've heard you swear.
Yeah, you definitely have ears that don't work, because that has never happened. How did you hear something that didn't happen?
I caught. Listen, the day that President Trump was shot in the ear, you and I had a conversation literally an hour and a half after it. It's as mad as I've ever seen you. You were so angry. You don't remember that conversation? You were
swearing.
Yeah.
Joe, we want to keep this lighthearted, because
this is lighthearted. It's gonna be real lighthearted.
Well, look, let's talk about the people losing their jobs right now at these top health agencies. RFK Jr. getting in there saying, "You're fired." Let's talk about that, because that's the fun thing, right? That's what I enjoy. And there's a weird theory or a weird sentiment that people are feeling on our sides that, like, these people have families. No, we don't care if they have families. They've been in the federal government for decades, a lot of them, and they need to be fired. And the government is now less efficient, and it costs way too much. They got to go. So I'm not going to, heed to the, they have families warning. we have families too, and they've been sucking our tax dollars, spending it on DEI projects for Joe Altman. You know, they're spending it on fat people like Joe.
Yeah,
So-
I'm so fat. I'm like, oh, it's so fat. I'm like getting fatter every day. PHAT, pretty hot and tempting, bro. I'm sorry that didn't work out for you.
You know, this is a grown man right here. You know, I got to regulate him. You know.
All right, so I want to show you something. There's some meltdowns. Can we do some meltdowns? Put us on the side if you would, and we're just going to run through these because I want you to see Letitia James. She's your favorite person. She's having a meltdown because of what
I'm pretty sure she's your favorite person.
She is absolutely my favorite person.
She's one of you black people.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and play it.
Payments to the state of New York and to states all across this nation. It is unacceptable, unconstitutional, ultra-vires. They have exceeded their authority. And so it's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law, because Elon Musk,
she can't even say his name,
and the president of these United States is not above the law. And we will continue. You know, as attorneys general, we've been preparing for this. This is not the outcome that we wanted.
You know, that woman's actually evil. You know, there's like actual crimes taking place in New York. You know, there's people getting pushed on subways. There are literally people destroying New York, every city. And this is her concern. Her concern is we gotta get the money that Trump took away from us that we were going to use to house illegals. We got to get that money back. $80 million they were going to use and pay hotel franchises to give these people some nice beds, some good food, 3 meals a day, eating better than most Americans now. And she's concerned that Trump took the money, not that she was spending the money. It's utterly ridiculous. And it's pretty obvious. New York now wants to give 800,000 of those illegals the right to vote. That's what they want to do. They want to give them the right to vote so Democrats can permanently control that state, because they're sensing that the native-born citizens are moving far and farther to the right. You know, they're going to the right, unlike people like Joe Altman, who are a raging leftist.
They're called lefticals, bro. Lefticals.
Wow.
So you got big balls on one side. You got lefticals on the other side.
Democrats are proposing a bill that would say you can't release babies as a man unless you had the intention of impregnating. So I believe that's good for you, Joe. That's very good.
Hold on. It gets better. Unless you're a part of the LGBTQ deal. And then we know you can't have a baby because you're part of whatever that is. And so, you know, you're exempt from that thing that happens.
You know, I'd be depressed about hearing that kind of thing if we weren't in power. You know, if they had all the power, they had the White House, the Senate, and the House, and they were doing these things, I wouldn't really care that much. You'd be like, but now it's a little different, right? Now we can actually laugh about these things. But, you know, going back on Letitia James, she's talking about how this is some fraud on New York. Only fraud on New York was this chick bringing a lawsuit saying Trump defrauded banks when those same banks showed up in court and said, no, he didn't defraud us. We did business together. We had a mutual agreement. And then she valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million to do so. And then recently a property, like an empty lot near Mar-a-Lago, went up like $50 million. So
79 million.
That's the real 79.
Yeah, 79 million and it was like 3 acres.
How do you know? I mean, were you trying to buy it?
No. I remember going through it and looking it up. And I'm like, all right, I would buy it for 18 million. I'd find $18 million to buy Mar-a-Lago. Sign me up.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But that's the real fraud that we're actually going through.
Okay, so then Rachel Madcow. I mean, she's another one of your really good friends, right? You like her a lot. She makes you happy. She makes you smile.
Well, she came out with that story about the Tesla, and it's utterly ridiculous. The Biden administration or the regime or the fraudulent, illegitimate puppet show, they actually awarded Tesla or they were going to award EV companies to make armored electric cars, an armored electric truck, which would have been the Cybertruck. And then she came out with the story and made it look like the Trump administration did it. And then it turns out it was the Biden administration. Look, they're going to try everything in their power to discredit what's going on right now. And unfortunately for them, no one cares. Unfortunately for us, no one cares what they have to say anymore.
All right, but Rachel Maddow got owned by Jesse Waters.
Slavery's back. Good.
It was really awesome. Hit it.
Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government, specifically the United States Department of State, that the taxpayers of the United States of America should spend $400 million buying, quote, armored Tesla production units. Isn't it great and definitely not at all illegal or profoundly corrupt? Definitely not ripping us all off to pay themselves, right?
Donald Trump didn't give that contract to Elon Musk. Joe Biden gave it to him.
That was so good.
So good. Can we even win? Can we win any more than this? Are we even allowed? I just want to know first if there's a limit. George, is there a limit to winning? Are we going to get cut off at like the 90th day of winning?
Well, it depends, right? I think the winning is going to continue for the next 3 months with a lot of executive actions, with a lot of companies deciding to set up operations in the United States, bringing thousands of jobs with them. The winning is going to be a thing for the next 3 months. Then we have to deal with Congress and reconciliation bills and shutdowns and, see how much metal these Republicans have in them. So you're probably onto something. There might be too much winning, Joe. Look, I woke up this morning and I was just tired because I was like, another day where I can't keep up with Trump. I think it's a brilliant strategy to just attack them on so many angles they don't know what to focus on. Because while they're thinking, oh man, we got to protect U.S. aid, Elon already took out U.S. Ebola, like just taking out viruses. But no, he took out the Treasury system, or he's auditing the Department of Defense, or he's looking at, the trillion agencies we have. So they don't know what to focus on. And while Elon's doing that, Trump's signing executive orders saying you can't be in the military if you are a he what, Joe?
A he bitch.
Yeah, if you can't be in the military if you are a he Mitch McConnell. So all this stuff is just happening at the same time. And their NGOs, the ones that always sue, they don't know how to react. They don't know where to sue or how fast to write briefs. Because by the time they finish and by the time a judge makes a ruling, 10 more things happened. 50,000 more people got fired. I think it's something like 75,000 people took the buyout offer, which I think it's the best one they're going to get. Because usually the first offer you give is if you're firing somebody, is the best one they're going to get. And then over time, you lose patience and you just fire them and give them nothing. So 75,000 people took that. And now like 5,000 people are going to get fired across the health agencies. They can't keep up, Joe. They don't know what to do. Inspector generals get fired, and it's just instantaneous.
Okay, so you need to know this. It gets better because winning it's not just about winning. It's not just about winning. It's about winning at such a pace that AOC has to go back to bartending. Tom Homan had this to say, and this is awesome. Let's play it.
But, Tom, you got AOC out there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney, I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that, because there's impediment is impediment in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is about public safety. This is about community safety. Knowingly releasing a public safety back in the public is just stupid. You're putting the public at great risk. You're putting our officers at great risk. You're even putting the illegal alien at great risk, because anything can happen on an arrest on the street. So we just want to make common sense. In sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. Step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going to.
Okay,
Wow.
so he did file articles of.
No, he sent a letter to the deputy attorney general asking if she is doing something wrong. But I get your enthusiasm about that.
5 minutes ago, it says right here he filed a criminal complaint with the U.S.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong then.
He did file a criminal complaint, and so they're pursuing it now. Whether or not it results in anything, I believe that there should be congressmen. You know what, George? There should be a lot of judges that go to prison. A lot.
Yeah. Especially the judge. I think his name is John McConnell, right? It just figures his name's McConnell, and Mitch McConnell is also a corrupt what, Joe? He what?
He's a he bitch.
Okay, I think he's actually straight, but besides the point. Mitch McConnell, this guy, they're all corrupt. So John McConnell disclosed that he has $250,000 of stock in a company called Cummins, I think, and it's some, zero emission manufacturing, that gibberish. And, that's a company that received $75 million from the Inflation Reduction Act. And this judge ruled to unfreeze funding for the Inflation Reduction Act. So it's like you can't make it up. You think, it can't get worse, and it does. But Tom Homan said something there that I thought was actually really interesting and something we need to explore, which is we're going to withhold funding from these cities, from these states, from these areas that are refusing to comply with federal immigration officials. I think that's an important thing. What if Congress, in the reconciliation bill they come out with, just write a line that says funding, consistent with the jurisdiction's compliance with federal laws? That would solve every problem.
Yeah, it would. But here's the issue, is that as we turn over all these rocks and we discover all of this waste, there's a void that gets created, right? So when you yank stuff out, you create this void. That void doesn't go away. It's like a fat person going on a diet, right? You get these
like
flat.
You?
Yeah, because bro, I actually told Jovan that I would gladly get in a deal. I'd let him go bare knuckle or wear the UFC gloves, and I'd wear boxing gloves, right? And we just do that. But he had to not wear his shirt. He had to not wear a shirt. He has to literally do it.
Okay, as we unearthed all this stuff, the void, go ahead.
Void. You called me a fat guy. I'm the furthest thing from fat.
We didn't need a monologue after it,
We did need a monologue. We needed
you to accept we need you to accept the insult, just accept the roast. So yes, we have a void that
I don't even remember what I was going to say. Yes, I do. So we have a void that was being said. Maxine Waters was slipped up. She was inside of a hearing, and she said something, and it's like saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
But here's what I know to be a fact. When I wanted somebody in the room that was in ear distance, right, and we were overseas, we would say something that person would recognize as me telling them something, as in we're in trouble, like something's about to happen. Maxine Waters did it as well. Let's go ahead and play it so you can hear this.
People of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us. We don't know what all they have on us.
Gotcha, bitch.
Wow.
See, even he adopted the he bitch.
Yeah, that's actually really good. Yeah.
All right, so here's what she said. We don't know what they have on us. The fact that she said it, she's signaling, and you'll see a lot of the things that they do in the media, they signal to other people, and then all of a sudden things start happening. You'll have people in different states that go and burn down buildings and act like idiots.
Yeah.
And she's signaling that, hey, we don't know. We have no idea what they have on us.
Well, first things first, when I signal to people that I'm in trouble, I just see if there's black people around. He's gonna rob me. I'm in trouble. We're all in trouble now.
What's wrong with you? Seriously.
Okay, no, I just had to get that out. So that's my way of signaling
Were
that
you
we might
beaten by black people? I mean, is that what happened to you? You were beaten
look.
up
Us
by
white
black
people, we see these things, and it's just pattern recognition. At the end of the day, all right, he's wearing a hood. He has dreads. He's gonna rob us all. Now let's analyze. Let's analyze what she's saying.
Dread. Okay, go ahead.
So beyond the signaling that they're in trouble, there's something really odd about saying Elon has our social security numbers. We don't know what he's going to do with it. Elon Musk is worth like $400 billion. What is he going to do with some grandma in Arkansas's social security number if he had it? What? Like get a loan in her name? Pay off her debts? He's more likely to pay off her debt than he is to get a new loan in her name. At the end of the day, that's why we don't want our social security numbers leaked. It's, we're terrified that someone could use our identity to do things like go get a loan. Elon is the most trustworthy person when it comes to that kind of information because he's not going to do anything with it. So you're right. They're using this. It's the same thing with the voting machines when they didn't want us having access to them. They said, look, this is going to endanger the machines. So now we got to recertify or buy new machines and the ballots. You can't get access to the ballots. There's personally identifying information in those records. You can't get the logs. It's the exact same thing. And now they're saying, Joe, there's no widespread abuse and fraud with the money, with the funding of the government, with the spending. But it's the exact same thing they said with the 2020 election. There's no widespread evidence of election fraud.
Well, I mean, we know that that's not true. We know that the gaslighting has continued for the last 4 years. It is coming to an end. I had a fascinating conversation with a few people yesterday that, I'm trying to wrap my head around what they're going to be doing and how they could do it.
Your head's not long enough. It needs to be like an Adam Schiff head. You couldn't wrap it around.
And if I had Adam Schiff's head, man, I don't even know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do. But Pocahontas.
Oh my God. You call me racist? You're out here doing, you just insulted Native Americans. That's their, thing for he what?
What? He bitches.
Yeah, you just called them that in their language.
For you? Why can't you say he hitches?
That's
replace the
B with called them that in their language. You said that's exactly what it means.
Pocahontas is not an Indian. Pocahontas is a fake Indian. She went and took a test. Look, let me tell you something. I'm blacker than you are in a lot of different ways, right? And that's a real thing. I'm darker skinned than you are, and Pocahontas is an Indian.
Well, I think she is Indian because she cries a lot. I see a lot of tears, Trail of Tears.
Bro.
There's a lot
What's wrong with you? Why? This is why you were kicked off of YouTube.
No, you just look. I'm just saying, there's like characteristics.
Trail of Tears, dude. That was a real thing. The Trail of Tears. Are you kidding me? Like,
no, yeah. Her people know about that. She's still representing today, man. She's crying on TV every time I see her. Elon's gonna take our money. Elon's gonna shut down U.S. aid.
So you got to hear this. So today, somebody put up a meme and it had stolen land. And then it said America is the land of stolen land. And then it had a picture of a black man on the other side and it says that was built by stolen people. And I was like, let me correct it for you. We have conquered land built by people who were sold by their own people.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what it is.
It is true. That's reality.
Yeah, man. When Matunde and all those slaveholders, yeah, people think like Europeans showed up and with like whiplashes and come here, N-word, and then just started chasing them around and then grabbed them and then like tied their hands and put them on boats. No, Matunde was sitting there collecting the checks.
Yeah.
So he was collecting more checks than these NGOs with our government.
You look strong. Go over there. They're going to send you to work. And you're going to pay me a cup of salt. And it was done in gold and currencies such as salt, which was a big currency back then. Okay, so
I did not know that. Wow.
So here's what
Black
Pocahontas.
people really love flavoring so much that they were accepting payments with salt. That's crazy.
You didn't know that? You're from.
I don't know these things.
Cameroon.
I'm not black. I'm not one of those people.
You're from Cameroon. You should know these things.
I'm very. You do not see that you're speaking to a white European right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Viva Polska. Come on, those are my people.
All right, listen to Pocahontas. This is what she had to say.
No one voted to cut funding for cancer and rare disease research, but that is exactly what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing. That's not efficiency, it's cruelty. This is work that saves lives, and these cuts will end studies on everything from Alzheimer's to childhood cancer. So we need to fight back, because when we fight back, we can win. Already, 22 state attorneys general across this country have sued, and a Massachusetts federal judge has temporarily blocked those cuts. But this fight is not over. Please call your senators, call your representatives, call your state elected officials, and ask them to stand up for those families who are relying on this research to save their loved ones. We can't let Trump play politics with our health.
I can't reconcile it. I mean, I can't reconcile what she's saying with reality.
They always do this, Joe. Look at the kids. You know, it's like whenever the government's about to shut down, suddenly, like, there was some like art exhibit that would lose funding, and they're like, "What about this art exhibit?" You know, it's like they're so out of touch with reality. What about the families of these workers? Well, if I'm not producing at my job, I lose. If anyone watching this is not producing at their job, they lose. They lose money. They lose their job. They lose something. But for some reason, when the federal government takes all our money and shreds it, causes crazy inflation, they're not allowed to be fired. They're not allowed to lose their funding. It's like they just, only we, the private citizens of this country, are allowed to suffer consequences. Somehow they just get whatever they want, apparently, according to Pocahontas, who is a real Indian because she cries. Woo!
Sorry, I had to do it. Well, you're yeah, I don't actually know about that meme that JC made. We'll put it up there, see if she's got a big mouth. Go ahead, put it up. Just put it up. Just for JC, because I don't want to not put it up. Will you stop suing my big pharma sugar daddy? No.
It was actually one of the most intense moments at that hearing.
Yeah, it was.
And she tried to get him to agree to not sue big pharma. You know, she was like, "Okay, will you commit to not, taking big checks from big pharma while you're secretary of the HHS?" He said, "Yeah. That's how he said it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, Mr. Senator, I do." And then he was like, "Okay, what about after you leave? Will you commit to not taking legal fees, from winning lawsuits against me?" "Senator, I can't do that. You're asking me to stop suing them." So it's really interesting.
She's
such a crook.
That's not actually the most. That was not the most tense moment in the hearing, but I do have the most tense moment in the hearing. Apollo, I put it in the thing. This is the most tense moment in the hearing. By far. I mean, this far outweighs any other moment that happened during the hearing. Let's go ahead and play.
Nothing outweighs you, Joe.
No, this is it. This is the most tense moment. Promise. That was a tense moment. George, that was tense.
Yeah, your mind works different.
Why can't we have nice things? Because of Pocahontas.
Well, yeah. That's something. That's something right there.
You like Bernie Sanders, don't you?
Well, I kind of regret feeling bad for him when Democrats rigged the elections against him. Because remember, he was kind of front running in 2020, and then they pulled shenanigans, or 29, or whenever their primary was, and they pulled shenanigans and got him out of the race. They made sure they rigged it against him. I believe he won Colorado, he won a lot of the big blue states, and he was just on track to be their nominee. But the thing with Bernie is he's just a wrecking ball in the worst way, right? He just comes in and his ideas are just generally stupid. But if you're Democrats, you can't control him because he's just uncontrollably stupid. He wants to tax the rich, but he is rich. He's just very dumb. So they can't really control someone dumb. They need someone a little savvy who kind of understands the game, who can get the evil done quicker and in a more efficient way. Bernie would just do evil, but literally just out of like being dumb. You can't control dumb.
Yeah, no, you can't. But you can actually stick a wiener in its mouth like they just did. Here's Bernie Sanders. You're not going to like this one. This is going to be crazy.
What show did I join?
Hey,
the president abolish the Department of Education?
What is going on in this country, not only with education, but with other institutions, is the president is operating in a very authoritarian, illegal, and unconstitutional way. If they want changes in the Department of Education, they want to abolish the Department of Education, fine, come to Congress. That is the process. That is what our Constitution is about. We have three separate branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. We are not, and cannot, and must not move to all power in one branch.
Senator, does that mean you're worried about oversight for something like everything that you do here?
Come to Congress. Congress is the reason we spend all this money, Bernie.
Are you concerned that you won't have that?
I am concerned that there is a real look. It is a little bit weird, just a little bit weird, that the President of the United States is now head of the Kennedy Center. My elderly person in America think that's a little bit strange. We have other people who know a little bit about culture, maybe even more than the President. But what is clearly happening in this country right now, every single day, with Musk, with President Trump, is more and more power going to fewer and fewer people, and often people who have huge amounts of money.
Can you tell me about your decision to co-sponsor Kane's Gaza bill? I'm just in middle.
Bernie.
Okay.
Apparently, the Constitution matters to them now. Well, when they talk about how if he wants to do this, he has to come to Congress. Well, the president is the head of the executive branch, and the Constitution makes it very clear that he has that unilateral authority to govern the affairs of the executive branch. Thomas Jefferson was impounding funds. They would give him money to buy some ships or some weaponry, and he would be like, nah, we solved the problem in other ways. I think for this reconciliation coming up, Congress needs to put it in there in that bill that the president has the authority to control where this money goes if he so deems it, because he runs the executive branch. And if he thinks the FBI needs 50 billion less than they're getting, then the FBI should get 50 billion less and send the money to the Treasury to pay off debt. I can't understand how these people are so hypocritical to the point where they are now pretending to be good stewards of the Constitution, when every single election cycle, they are talking about obliterating the current status quo at the Supreme Court and putting a bunch of leftist maniacs in there. It annoys me, Joe.
Well, it should annoy you, but the other side of this is that maybe it's AI that's planned all this for him. He is walking through all these different channels and be like, go over here, turn this off, turn this down, or close the Department of Education, send everybody home. The Department of Education was actually created by Carter. Now, since 1980, and I want to point this out because this is really important. Since 1980, the education standards in the United States, when it was, hey, no child left behind, they came up with this stuff all the way through early 2000s, was literally at a place where it was like 94%. So 94% of the people in the country from you call it age 30 and under could read or write and were proficient.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, it's dropped to nearly half.
Oof.
Nearly half. Now you have the act in 1986 that gave the ability for big pharma to be immune from prosecution. And what happened since then? We see the comorbidities, things that never existed before, go through the roof. People were able to put fillers into foods. I mean, it's been off the rails since the 1980s. And you could argue since the 1980s that some of the worst policy decisions that could ever be made have adversely affected the United States in ways that you can't even quantify.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. Also, if we're talking about the existence of or the continued existence of any institution, we have to know why it was created in the first place. The Department of Education, their creed, their initial mission statement was to prevent discrimination in schools, right? Making sure states that were traditionally discriminatory weren't going to continue discriminating with federal funds. Really that should have been a task force, but it was a department. But we are in 2025. We don't have a problem with those Black people, which I am not part of. I'm European. We don't have a problem with those people getting funding anymore or schools getting their money from the federal government anymore. In fact, I would argue it's demonstrably true that Black inner city schools get way more funding than a lot of school districts that perform way better. It's not actually even about money. It's solely about the performance of the teachers and their competence and the ethos that school district goes by. If they're focused on hiring teachers to fill quotas, we got enough fat lesbians, we got enough dwarfs. I know you were trying to hire a dwarf. Hopefully that's going well.
It's going well. We have a couple interviews and a couple that have said yes. So yeah,
congratulations on your promotion.
We're going to have some European white people that identify as white come work with us as well. Yeah, we were thinking maybe you should join that.
Yeah. Congratulations to Apollo the dwarf for
Oh, Apollo. What?
Congratulations to him.
Oh.
I don't know. You're the dwarf he's talking about. You identify as a dwarf, don't you?
No. Dude, why do you have coffee in the background? What's that?
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
Well, yeah. So the current Department of Education does not promote competency across the board. School districts are at worse standards than they've ever been.
Right.
I personally know people's kids who are just dumb. I don't think they're dumb. It's just the system they're in. And, teachers are not rewarded on their abilities. They're just paid because the unions negotiated better salaries. In fact, I think we should get rid of the unions, in a lot of these decisions. Unions make everything worse. Teachers have to be rewarded for their ability, not for their mere existence. So,
okay, so I mean, I have to point this out because I think it's something that we kind of walk past. And you just said it, that the education standard, especially in inner cities run by Democrats, has degraded almost to a place where it's non-existent. You have, in Chicago alone, 16% of the population graduates proficient in anything. 16% of the population in those inner cities. So not only do you have to dodge bullets on the way to school, and it's rife with drugs and crime and gang violence, but you have zero opportunities when you get to the school to be run by anything other than gender fluidity, DEI, and the ability to groom you into some sort of deviant lifestyle. So as you look at this, I look back at, again, the 1980s, and I go back further as you have a Democrat that developed the Department of Education. Now, the Department of Education has the ability of pushing down even into, conservative environments that had high education standards and erosion of that education. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because even in suburbia, you're seeing the numbers of people in suburbia, like a wealthy area, probably 90% white, right? They don't like it, but I mean, that's just the reality. You're seeing 10, 15%, 20% of those populations that are graduating dumber than a box of rocks. So it's worked. Like this idea of eroding from the community, starting at the testing this in the impoverished communities, most disadvantaged, and then moving it forward to the outside, that cancer, it's worked. It's worked.
Yeah, it's very easy to control poor and dumb people.
Yeah.
So if you make everyone poor and dumb, you can do whatever you want to them. You can tell them, get a vaccine. No. Okay, well, you're going to lose your job that was paying you very little to begin with. And there's no other job for you because we exported all the jobs to India and all the high paying ones are H-1B workers. Well, then you're going to take the vaccine because you have no choice. You got to take care of your family. So, yeah, absolutely. They have destroyed culture with the Department of Education and getting rid of it. It's not just about reversing that destruction, but it's about Trump's legacy. If he wants to be remembered as the president that changed everything, he's going to have to do transformational things that people remember 50 years from now and say, wow, Trump created the department, or he defunded the Department of Education. He canceled it. He shut it down completely. People are going to remember him for those kinds of things. They're not going to remember him for signing an executive order, doing some firings. They're going to remember him for the big stuff, big people, Chris Christie's, Joe Altman's, the big things of life that people remember you by.
That's freaking brutal. You just literally just keep it up, right? I'm going to take my shirt off so I can show. Let me see your muscles. I'll show you.
You don't want to see that. We ain't trying to see you shirtless.
I promise there are people that probably do want to see me shirtless.
They're not watching this right now. They're at the gay club.
Knows you never go full retard.
Okay. So I was getting to this. Margaret Sanger, if you look at her Wikipedia page, I thought this was interesting. Her Wikipedia page says nothing of eugenics, says nothing of her ability to basically run black people and brown people into a hole. It celebrates her as the person that was able to promote and bring abortion clinics to the forefront. So they have rewritten history, and much like they rewrite history in order to really just bash and slander people, they do it on the opposite of revering. These are people that say that racism, that are using these dog whistles, and in actuality, they're revering a woman that in large part wanted to destroy all of the minority communities, not just in the United States, but around the world. So,
yeah, and her dream came true. I think she's getting exactly what she wanted, which is the black population to be reduced or stay about the same rate, while I guess she's probably getting nothing because while the blacks are staying the same or reducing, the white people are going extinct too. So,
yeah. Your heritage is going away, bro. That the European heritage.
Look, our Europeanness is just waning. You don't know anything about that because you're black.
Okay, so I want to show you this. Cat Williams, you got to see this. This is freaking amazing. This is a little bit funny. Let's go and play it. See one.
Did you guys see Cat Williams when he was talking to the president? Trump's like, what the fuck? He had the whole crowd chanting America.
Yeah. This new election changed everything, but it's new shit now. Trump is in there. Trump didn't wait. We didn't have to worry what the fuck Trump was finna do. Trump got on that shit immediately. Trump don't follow nobody's rules. The president supposed to be at the White House. Our president is wherever the fuck he wanna be. He in New York, he in the South, playing golf. They used to say, will your president be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning to answer the phone if it rings? Shit, yeah, our president is up. Our president is a vampire. That motherfucker sent 23 tweets at 12:30. What the fuck is you talking about? We used to seeing people be wrong. We ain't never seen nobody be this wrong. CNN was wrong.
Oh, man. Joe just saw food, and that's why his mouth is so wide open, and he looks so happy.
Wow. Are you serious?
He just saw food, ladies and gentlemen. You look like husbands when they see boobs for the first time.
No, you have no idea what just happened. Holy shit.
What's up?
Man. Wow.
What's up, Joe?
I got to talk to you about it offline. I'll talk to you about it after the show's over. I'll share it with everybody else, but something just happened that is pretty spectacular. So,
good or bad?
Really good.
Oh man,
Really good.
I thought somebody died, man. Oof. I'm not ready for no bad news, man. We came here lighthearted. You almost gave me a heart attack.
I don't even know how to reconcile what just happened. I can't even, bro. Yeah. I don't want to get emotional, so I'm just going to continue the show and I'm going to have a little fun with you, and then I'll pray with you afterwards to thank the Lord for this. But
Hey, yeah, it looks like you're pregnant, and it's going to be a boy.
bro, I quit drinking 4 months ago. You know that, right? I quit 4 months ago, and I've been working out literally like a madman. Like so.
Aw.
I
You're only as
quit
opposed to
drinking
being
because-
9 months pregnant, you're only now 5 months pregnant because you minus the 4 months.
Dude, I'm going to throw you around like a rag doll when I get my hands on you. I'm telling you what, I'm just going to snatch you up and choke you out. Then
And
you're gonna
suddenly, I'm going to be a black man suffering white oppression. That's what I'm at that point. I'm a hate crime, man. I'm a pull a Jussie Smollett, man.
I can't even win. You go from white, you just change. You're like a hermaphrodite. It's crazy.
What? You're going to crush me like George Floyd? I can't breathe at that point. Come on, man. Don't do me like that.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Let's pray and get out of here so you can call me about this good news.
all right, no, I got 3 more cuts. I told Miss Commie Coffee, JC, that I would finish all the things that we talked about beforehand. We're going to put into this, and then I just
All right,
I get to
let's watch the 3 because
all right. You have nowhere to be. You don't even have a job.
I do. I got to call you and get this good news because the way you're happy, I want to hear about this.
What's the E in Doge stand for?
Efficiency.
Put it up. Nope. It's not. It's Eric. Elon. See Eric on his shoulders.
Oh, I just noticed that.
Are you serious? What do you think? He was standing behind him? He's like,
I just noticed that. What is going on, man? What's going on at the Oval Office, man?
Oh, I don't know. It's kind of working though. And finally, I gotta show you this. This sums up how I've been feeling, how you've been feeling, how we've all been feeling about President Trump becoming president. Let's go and play it. There you go. He can dance better than you too.
I think he has it. White people don't know how to dance like me.
Yeah. You don't know how to dance, really?
No, of course
I mean, I know you don't know how to play basketball. I've seen it. Your coordination is just not there. But
how did you know I didn't know how to play basketball?
As you told me, I don't know how to play basketball.
But why would you then say it was the coordination when I have good coordination? You just made that up, man.
Come on, do the chop. Do the chop.
That wasn't even that wasn't even on the same level as me making fun of you for being fat. That was just me. You just said my coordination.
Yeah,
that's like
bad. That's 3 left.
That's like saying I have cancer. It's like
you drive a Kia. It's not. We know you're. It's.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Behizy, it's always great to have you on. We got a lot of work to do. I basically do want to say this. People need to follow you on X for 3 reasons. One of which is you don't sleep. You're like the president. You constantly are just putting information out there. You do it in such a way that I actually don't know when you do sleep, because I'll be up at 2:00 in the morning and here's bing, Behizy.
I don't sleep anymore, man.
Yeah.
If Trump's not sleeping, I'm not sleeping.
And but not more importantly than that, you constantly bring a breath of fresh air. When you do say that you don't cuss, it's absolutely true. He lives his life in his faith. And the one thing I appreciate about you is that, like, in the time, there's been like 2 or 3 times that I get to that point where I just want to hurt someone. There's been some stuff, and all of a sudden, George will call me out of the blue and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's up, fatty? You need to get on the treadmill, fatty." He doesn't do that. But I mean, he does get on there and say, "Hey, you okay? Everything good? Okay, good. I just wanted to call and check on you."
Man, you're so sappy, man. Can we?
I'm not sappy.
Let's pray and leave, man.
All right, do you want to pray or you want me to pray?
I'll pray because you're gonna do it like my mom and start casting out demons 5 hours later. Nah, we don't want to hear that. All right. Lord Jesus, we thank you so much for bringing us together, and thank you so much for the victories that we're constantly experiencing. And we pray for this year and the rest of it, that you keep us at the center of your heart, and we keep you at the center of our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
See, look, fast, easy, you know.
All right. Hey, listen, I appreciate you, brother. Stay on. I'll tell you exactly what happened. For all the others, hey, have a great weekend. We got some stuff we're going to be launching this weekend. Look forward to other people coming on to the Untamed Nation. There's lots of people joining it. Some big announcements next week. Might even get Behizy to do one a month. He said no to one a week, so maybe one a month. We'll see. All right. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Kiss and love on your family. And remember, Trump is your president.